Hi Gina, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Were you able to get here pretty easily? Parking, everything's good? Okay, I'm glad to hear that. So just how have you been doing? How's the last week been for you?
It's been okay. I got to go home and see my family because of Thanksgiving and everything, so that was really nice.
Okay.
I feel really good to be home.
Oh, that's wonderful. You got to connect with them. Were you able to see some friends and spend some time with them? That's great. Um, just kind of going over what we had talked about last week or the last time we met, and we kind of came up with some goals for moving forward, and some steps to start implementing those goals. How have things been going with that? I know we were able to connect you with the tutor. How have you been finding that?
Good. I understand the material more, so that's good for science.
Okay.
And so, yeah, my tutor's nice, and I get a lot of stuff done when I'm in there with them.
Okay, that's really good to hear. And also, I know you had talked about maybe carving out some time after you got back from your classes to study and kind of go over everything more. How have you found that?
When I do it, it's good,
Okay.
but I'm not doing it as often as I should be.
Okay, well, that's fine. I mean, at least, it's kind of small steps. You have to start integrating it into your schedule, but whenever you can and you feel that it's helpful, that's always great. So, and then I know we had also discussed maybe kind of running or, you having a couple days a week that you were going for a run. Were you able to do that or find that helpful?
Yeah, I went on a couple.
Okay.
They're okay.
They were okay? Okay, so was there anything else that kind of worked better or you found not so helpful?
I feel like I'm not motivated. Even when we carve out the time to do work, I still go home and feel like I don't want to, or I get started and then I realize how much I have to do, and then I get discouraged, so I just stop doing it and watch TV or something instead.
So based on what you just said and just kind of our previous sessions, the things you've talked about and how it's just been kind of difficult to, feel it like you're adjusting well to school and feeling motivated to do your schoolwork. I was hoping we could maybe talk about a type of therapy we could do together moving forward that I think might be beneficial to you. Is that okay with you? Okay, so the therapy that I'm thinking about is called cognitive behavioral therapy. Have you heard anything about that, or do you kind of have any ideas about what psychotherapy or therapy looks like? Or?
Not really.
Not really? Okay. That's okay. So with cognitive behavioral therapy, basically the idea is our thoughts, our feelings, and behaviors are all connected. So with the example that you just gave, you you were saying that when you're home and you have this time to study, sometimes it's hard to feel motivated, and then as a result of that, not feeling as motivated, you just spend time watching TV. Is that correct? So with that, what's the thought that usually happens right before the feeling of not being motivated?
Just kind of hopeless, like this isn't what I want to do, or this is too much.
Okay. It's too much, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's the thought piece of it, correct? And then the feeling is, what would you say? I don't want to do it, or how would you kind of put it into words?
Yeah, tired, not motivated. I feel lazy.
Okay. And then as a result of those feelings, what happens?
I just lay in bed.
You just
or watch TV.
Or watch TV. Okay. And so the idea between cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT is that that those thoughts, feelings, actions are connected, and then the resulting action kind of reinforces or kind of gives way to those thoughts again. So it kind of starts cycling around over and over again, and it makes us feel hopeless or that there's nothing we can do to kind of just escape that. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to, well, not attack, but get at the thoughts when they first happen, because a lot of these thoughts are just so automatic. You don't, I mean, to use the pun, you don't even think about it. It's just, it just happens. So the event happens and immediately you just have the thought. And that just gets to the feeling and the action right away. But what we want to do is when something happens, so when you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe you can think about it a different way. And that idea is that when you're thinking about it a different way, that will change your feelings about it. So you won't feel so stressed or tired. And maybe you'll have a little bit more energy to kind of, get to the assignment or studying or whatever it may be. And then the action will be that you'll be able to do it and, overall feel better about yourself and your ability to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does. And does that sound like something you'd be interested in exploring together, working on together?
Sure.
Okay. So if we can just look at this handout together, which I'm going to let you keep. As you can see, this just kind of explains what we had just talked about, the thoughts, feelings, actions being connected. And this is also kind of going a little bit into it. So this is talking about like the event or trigger for the automatic thoughts. So as you can see the example here. And what we want to do again is, start getting at some more new thoughts so we can have new feelings and new actions. So why don't we go over this together based on what we had just talked about, just so we can kind of get an idea of what we're going to be doing moving forward.
Sure.
So what happened was, sorry, go on.
No, I went to do my homework and decided not to.
Okay. And what was your automatic thought when that happened?
This is too much. I don't have to do this.
Okay. And what did you feel after having that thought?
I felt a little down, lazy, like I said, tired.
Okay. And once you started having those feelings, what did you do with them?
I laid in bed and watched Netflix.
So, looking at this and kind of thinking about what happened, would there have been another way to maybe think about that feeling overwhelmed? Something else that maybe you could have thought that wouldn't have made you feel overwhelmed?
Yeah, I guess I could have been like, oh, I did all this work in the past, I'm sure I can do it now, or especially since I understand it better now, like, encourage myself more to do it, or tell myself that I could. Usually I tell myself that I can.
Okay, so I did all this work before, so I know I can do it. I've been studying, so I understand it better. And the last one you said was, I can do it. So those are some new thoughts. And then if you think about these thoughts and maybe some feelings that could be connected to them, like new feelings, what comes to mind?
Maybe like hopeful.
So like new feelings, hopeful. Okay. Anything else?
Motivated.
Okay. That's good. Okay, those are good. And so with those new feelings, what do you think a new action could be?
Doing my homework.
Doing homework. Okay.
Or at least a part of it.
Okay, least a part of it. Okay, and I know we didn't really talk about that. I mean, because this is also an outcome, but what do you think, like, an overall outcome of this new trajectory?
I probably would have felt a lot better about myself and I would have gotten my homework done.
Okay, so feel better. Homework is done. So does this make sense to how it can, if we start kind of thinking about things in a new way, we can get new outcomes? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So like I said, I'm gonna let you keep this just so you can go over it again, and this is just another like kind of a blank thing of what we just did in terms of like think of new thoughts, new feelings, new actions. So I'm gonna keep that with you. And so with this therapy, typically it can be about as little as 6 sessions or as much as 12 sessions. So it's not a very long therapy. We'll just be meeting once a week as we've been meeting for the next 6 to 12 weeks, depending on how you're finding things, what's working. You can go as short as 6 or as long as 12 and just adjust it going forward. And while we're doing it, so that you're tracking what's going on, you know, when these different events happen and the sequence of like events of thoughts, feelings, and actions. I was hoping that maybe you could start keeping this thought journal. So basically what it is like I said, when the situation happens, you write it down, then you track what the thought was, what the emotions or feelings were that came from that thought, what the behavior was, and then an alternative thought. So basically what we just did. So let's say, for example, your friends invite you out, but you feel like, you know, maybe you just want to stay home. What we can just track that and then think of an alternative thought, and then you and I can discuss it next time, or maybe in that moment you may feel like thinking about it, you would have the energy, or you wouldn't feel like you want to stay home. So does that seem like something you would be able to do, something that work? And you can also use this for some of the other objectives that we had talked about last time. So you know, going out, running, doing homework, working with your tutor. Whatever just comes up, it's a good way to track it, and you and I can discuss it the next time we meet.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So was there anything else that you wanted to talk to me about? Anything else you felt like I should know before we meet next time?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you, Gena, for coming in, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.